Ken Pulley out of
Oh,
Hillsdale,
that's right,
Michigan.
Ken Pulley.
Yeah.
Have you heard from Ken lately? How's he doing?
I heard from him a couple weeks ago on Facebook. I got a message.
Okay.
He said I had missed him when I was up there in July. He was in West Virginia, I believe, at the time when I was up north. So he said, "Let me know when you're coming back again, so I can see you." I said, "Okay."
All right. Well, cool. Cool. Now, what were your age about when you got into music? I know you started young.
Well, I was playing records at age 1. I wore out a record player every year. That was my Christmas present every year, was a new record player because I wore the last one out. And I was running them by myself at the age of 1.
Wow.
And actually, I saw some pictures while I was back home of me in front of a old Fisher Price record player. And I can tell you the record that was playing on the record player.
That
I still
don't
have
surprise
it.
me a bit out of you. I know that. For
Scary.
Those of you who don't know, he's like the Rain Man of vinyl. Man, he could. You just flash an album up, and he can look at the label and tell you what years in production that came out of, and what record label, and I mean, it's just weird. And he does it so quick too.
It's just something that's been part of my life, all of my life.
Right, right. Yeah, it's funny because he'll look at something and goes, "Oh, that's a DJ copy, or that's a whatever," and for our first print, and you're like, "How did you know that?" By looking at it 20 feet across the room, he could see it and goes, "Oh, that's such and such."
Well, I'll tell you one even better. When I was married, I had everything alphabetized and arranged in the collection. And I sat across the room one day and looked at the collection and looked at it for about 5 minutes. And I got up and I walked over, and there was 3 records out of place. I had to pull them out and move them and put them in the right area.
Yeah, he knows records. Yeah.
On that moment, she knew she wanted to divorce you.
She said, "How did you notice?" It was something she had moved on purpose. She had moved them on purpose to see if I would catch it. I was clear across the room and caught it.
Wow.
And he ain't lying. I mean, I've seen him. We'd do the vinyl show, and we'd have cases of vinyl here. And I'm shuffling through them real fast. I don't even take them out of the box sometimes. I just leave them in the case, and I'm just shuffling from back to front. And I'll stop at one, and he'll be 30 feet away from me, and he goes, he's already laughing because he knows it's a Buck Owens tune or something that I look at, and some cheesy picture of Buck on the front. He already knows the album where it's at in the case. He knows where it's at. That ain't no lie. There's something wrong with you. It's a gift or it's something wrong with you. I don't know what it is.
Maybe a little both.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You should have been a librarian.
Oh, no.
It would have worked.
Yeah, that would have been a
You
good.
could have been a librarian of music. How about that?
Library. Okay, I could
Like
do
work
that.
at a record store like that. That'd be good.
I could do that.
So let's blow off this vacuum cleaner thing you're doing. Let's go start a record shop.
Okay.
Is there any good record shops around here?
There's a new one that opened in Murfreesboro.
In Murfreesboro?
I have not been to it yet, but I do know.
Oh, we need to go visit it.
Yes, we
need to
do.
bust it open.
Yes, we do.
So I saw today on.
I'll spend
Letgo-
your money.
Thank you. And we ain't getting a whole lot, that's for sure. I saw today on Let Go, the app there was some albums on it. 5 Elvis albums for $5 and 5 this for $5. So, I wasn't interested in going to getting them, but they're starting to appear on there now. So,
Just depends on what they are for Elvis. If they're first pressings early, they could be worth a little bit.
Right. But yeah, you just never know. Sometimes you just walk across some of those that the good finds. Yeah, the good finds. What was your best find in the vinyl world?
I went to an auction for a school teacher back home, and I knew what he had before I went.
Mm-hmm.
He had a stack of Beatle albums.
Oh, no.
And I didn't have much money when I went. But there was the collection was full of, there was 3 Buddy Holly albums, 10 Beatle albums. I can't remember the rest. There was a whole bunch of other ones. It was all 60s related. And it was a rainy day, so there was hardly anybody at the auction.
Good.
I bought the whole box for $16.
Woo. Woo. What was the best record of the bunch?
The one that was worth the most was a Buddy Holly record. That after I first got married, I got hard up for money. I was out of a job.
No.
And I sold all 3 Buddy Holly records, a few others for $50.
Okay.
A couple years later, I bought a book where I could see what they were actually worth.
Oh, yeah. You shouldn't do that.
I cried. I looked it up.
Yeah.
The Buddy Holly record, one of them that went was worth $2,500.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? That's the
That guy,
worst thing
that
with
guy knew
eBay.
exactly what he was buying. He was laughing all the way out the door, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't get on eBay too much anymore. I think the eBay thing is over with me. But I used to get on eBay and pull up, like, old toys that we used to have, like the old G.I. Joes that were 11 inches tall and stuff. And just some of the accessories that went with it, they got them on there for $200. I'm like, are you kidding me? I had cases of that crap in there, some old stuff. It's amazing what that stuff's good. And I don't even want to think about baseball cards.
I heard
All
about
the
your
ball
Barbie
card
doll
players.
collection.
Yeah, I kept the Barbie doll collection now. I was pretty fond of it. especially the one that Ellie Mae, she tried to sue him over. I got that one hidden. So. Well, they made it Ellie.
Action
Yeah,
figure.
they're action figure Barbie dolls. Yeah.
She was active, all right.
She's oh, that was yeah.
That was along with
Oh,
his
that's
My
terrible.
Buddy.
But why don't we have Velvet come up with some music news real quick? We'll do
Yeah,
a
tell
song
us
and
some
I'll come
news
across.
there, Velvet.
It says, looks like Bonnie Tyler will be getting a nice little check in the mail soon. Total Eclipse of the Heart was the #1 song on iTunes yesterday. And it was the highest price. So she did really, really well.
She just made a little bit of money.
Yeah. Yeah. We played it, remember?
You played it at work.
I played it at work during the eclipse. Had to.
There was a radio station in Cookville that played Dark Side of the Moon front to back. A whole album while the eclipse was going on.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I participated. I've got something else. So this isn't music related. This is actually eclipse related.
Eclipse related.
Yes, there was a Georgia sheriff that got into the joking game on August 3rd. He posted, well, you just have to read it. So I'm going to read it for you here. Sorry about that. Sheriff Scott Berry announces that on Monday, August 21st, at about the time your kids are riding home from school on the bus, that there will be a solar eclipse of the sun as celestial forces no one understands will blot out the sun. It is very likely that this is the end of life on this planet as we know it. As your sheriff, I expect each of you to begin panicking today. There is no need to wait until Sunday night to buy bread and milk. The shelves will be empty already as vast hoarders descend on grocery stores. If you wait, the only thing left will be potted meat and a knockoff brand of cereal with such names as Raisin-O's and Cheery Bran. Now, don't look at the eclipse unless, of course, you live in the backwoods of Tennessee. In that case, no one will hear you scream as you stumble blindly into a moonshine still or a bear trap. Millions of Americans are blinded every week by staring directly into the sun, eclipse or not. Don't do it. Your sunglasses will not protect you from certain death if you look at the sun. However, for a mere $29.99 plus $9 shipping and handling, you can order Stare Directly at the Sun wearing these glasses from NASA and the Home Shopping Network. Pregnant women should smoke and drink liquor during the eclipse. Now, you did hear should. This will prevent radioactive waves from making your ankles swell and being grouchy most of the time. Meanwhile, your other children will be on the school bus wondering why it got dark so early. An afternoon snack of potted meat will encourage them to ignore the end of the world as we know it. Leading scientists tell us that the post-eclipse, the only two things they expect to survive are cockroaches and Facebook. Wait, is that one or two things?
Wow. So this guy watched a lot of Twilight Zone and Outer Limits.
That's pretty cool,
can I
though,
share
for a
something?
sheriff, don't you think?
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, in regards to that, I went to Stonewood Bluff to see the eclipse. I get up there and I'm thinking I'm prepared. I got my sunscreen and all that. Get up there, start setting cameras up, and I suddenly am getting eat up by bugs, like literally. And I'm like, it's 10 o'clock. I got enough time to run back down the hill. I'll just stop in the dollar store and get some off. Needless to say, I think that story's partially true because I go in the dollar store and there were literally 6 people in line with over $200 worth of groceries in each cart at the dollar store, and no off. I don't know.
And no off.
It just so yeah.
Wow. People get onto these end of the world things, and they just want to just. Nobody knows when the end of the world is. You ain't predicting the end of the world. There's no philosopher, there's no scholar, there's no prophet in the past that can tell you when the end of the world's going to happen. It's just, you just don't know. You know, when it happens, it happens. It might be another million years, before it happens. So when somebody starts talking about these little, such and such is the end of the world, like the Mayan calendar thing.
Yeah.
People forgot that the Mayans never counted leap year. So by the time somebody figured out that leap year was already added into the calculation, the end of the world was 7 years ago by the Mayan calendar. So you're going, we would have been dead by the Mayan calendar 7 years ago, so apparently your theories aren't right.
They ran out of space on the wheel.
Apparently. So I just look at it and go, you know what? If it ends tomorrow, it ends tomorrow. There's nothing you're going to do about it, so just live for today. Be who you are, be the best person you can be, and just move on. Don't get stuck on all these crazy harebrained ideas. We're having an eclipse, so therefore the little Martians are coming behind the eclipse. And so all ought to wear our Reebok shoes and castrate ourselves and sleep in a bunk bed. Remember that when that happened? Those
I
guys,
remember. That was
Haley's Comet
awful.
or whatever?
That was awful.
I remember books that was by the same author every year. The End of the World, 1985, 1986, 1987. Same author.
Yeah, it's
Is
crazy.
he still alive?
Crazy.
It might have ended for him, but we're still
Right.
kicking. I just look at it, just don't worry about tomorrow. Just worry about you today. Take care of what you can do today. Don't worry about tomorrow. When tomorrow gets here, worry about it then. But I ain't worried about the next solar eclipse or the bugs are coming or just hey,
It'll be the zombies next.
I was worried they was eating me up.
the bugs. Yeah. Now, see, I worry about the bugs. Yeah, Brian, I'm with you there. But people buying all the stuff and no off. Isn't that crazy?
I was a succulent morsel also last night, or in the evening. I was out in they were just biting me only.
I walked out on the front porch for a few seconds and looked around. And, the sun was behind me. I didn't look up at it. And my dad was sitting there at the end of he's got a hospital bed in the living room, and he sat there and goes, "Well, it's kind of getting dark." And that's about all it was for us. It kind of got dark in Manchester, not a whole lot. But it was a cool thing to see. I would have liked to have been able to get up to like McMinnville or a little north where it got total dark. But I don't know. Maybe 7 years from now we'll all take a big party up in Paducah.
We need to because I was on a conference call the whole time.
See, that's where I just hang up. The end of the world's happening. If it doesn't, I'll call you right back.
So did anybody see any moon shadows?
I did.
We,
I did. Waves.
You saw the waves.
Yes. Oh, it was awesome.
That was really neat. We actually saw the reflection of those on our van. We could see them just moving.
I just kept on waving at the hillbilly heartthrob. Look! I don't even know. Did you even know what I was pointing at?
No, I didn't.
I couldn't speak because I was listening on the conference call, standing outside with my glasses, saying yes to my boss.
Were you talking to people in Florida at the time?
Yes.
They weren't getting no eclipse thing, so they didn't care. So.
And I actually, no, I said, hey, can we please have this meeting at 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern? And my boss says, we'll have it at 2 o'clock. And I knew what he was doing. The phone rings at 1 o'clock, and I was like, oh my
That's right,
gosh,
you wouldn't have answered
you're
it.
killing me, Randy.
I would have answered it. Randy, sorry.
But I still was able.
Why I'm
I was still
unemployed.
able to see it. But it was just distracting.
See, that's why I work for myself, because of that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, we'll do it at 2 o'clock. And then they call you at the wrong time. So, yeah, I can't work for other people.
I pretend like it.
Oh, I know. You got
Just
more
ask
guts
Jim.
than
I used to
do.
work for him.
Yeah, no. What kind of work did you do when you worked for him?
Actually, he was the assistant manager at Wicks Lumber.
Wicks Lumber, man. I
yeah.
have not heard that since you and I talk about it. But
Yeah.
Wicks Lumber, I haven't seen a Wicks Lumber since I left Beloit, Wisconsin.
And unfortunately, we won't ever again. Yeah.
Yep. I see where they're closed, and the sign might still be up. You know, I see a Weeks of Lumber every now and then where the signs up in the lumber yard's closed. But I remember in Wisconsin, my friend worked there, and his job was he had the forklift, and he took the loads off of the rail cars that came in with the trains. Middle of winter time, January, Wisconsin winter weather, and he's out there freezing to death. Wicks Lumber.
Now, I will tell you this. He was really glutton for punishment because he actually took on managing my band in Michigan for a while.
Wow.
So, yeah, he managed us. When it came time to do the firing, we had to fire one bass player. He did it.
He had to fire the bass player.
Somebody else to do the dirty work.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Well, why don't you play us another tune there, Heartthrob?
All right.
What are you
Hey,
gonna
I got a
do?
request.
You have a request. What's that?
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Come on, Bright Eyes.
Turn around.
There you go. Go for it.
I don't think I get as high as Bonnie.
Well, get crap, my man went blank.
Definitely
Get,
not in that key. I couldn't.
What was that, Brian?
I went blank. Never mind.
I'm that way most of the time.
Sing the song you wrote in like 5 minutes.
Song I wrote in like 5 minutes.
But do it in 3.
Okay. All right. Actually, the song Athens on my album
That's the one.
was written. It just kind of poured out, and first time writing it down was done. This is 100% mine. No other writer but myself.
I thought Bob wrote this.
That's right. Bob wrote this. Yeah. Never been to Athens. I hear it's beautiful in the summertime. Never been to Portland. Hear the fishing's great there all the time. I've laid beside you, held your body tight. Baby, that's the only place wanna be tonight. You're the only place ever wanna go. Don't need no mansions or a sidewalk paved with gold. Just your embrace from now until the end. Oh, darling, let's start over again. Baby, come on over. Darling, let's turn out the light. We'll light a candle and get lost in each other's eyes. Come lay beside me. Let's make love tonight. Baby, that's the only thing really seems right. You're the only place ever wanna go. Don't need no mansions or a sidewalk paved with gold. Just your embrace now until the end. Oh, darling, let's start over again. Oh, darling, let's start over again.
So, You're mainly into country. You grew up country.
Yes.
What's the first country song you can remember that you heard?
Well, actually, I was probably 4 or 5 years. Well, actually, I can tell you, I was 5 because I entered my first talent show singing the song.
Okay. And what was it?
In rock and roll, he was known as Sheb Woolley,
Oh, okay.
and then who brought you the Purple People Eater,
Right.
and then in the late 70s, he went into the country field under the name of Ben Colder.
Right.
And he did parodies like a Weird Al Yankovic. And he took a Carl Smith song called Don't Go Near the Indians and did a parody called Don't Go Near the Eskimos. And at age 5, I was singing that on stage at a talent contest.
And look where it blossomed you
Yeah,
to.
yes.
On the 13th floor.
On the 13th floor of the high sky rise. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How'd it go? Do you remember?
Yeah, I can still remember it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Hook shook mogi, mush your doggy, oh, hook shook mogi, yeah. The sun don't go near the Eskimos, please do what I say. Well, I grew up in that frozen country where the nights are 6 months long. I used to play like I was an Eskimo. I just screwed up bad. Let me try that again.
Do it again.
Hook shook mogi, mush a doggy, hook shook mogi, eh? I said, son, don't go near the Eskimos, please do what I say. Papa was working for the weather station, a little bit north of Nome. And I grew up in that frozen country where the nights are 6 months long. I used to play like I was an Eskimo, put whale oil on my hair. And every night I would beg my folks, let me sleep in the Frigidaire. Hook shook mogi, mush a doggy, oh, hook shook mogi, eh? The sun don't go near the Eskimos, please do what I say. Well, there she was sitting on a chunk of ice and eating her frozen fish
Got a talking part.
and dipping her friskies in oil blubber. And I said, Uga Shuga Mushka, which means the love in my heart is burning for you. She said, Uga Shuga Nushka, and that means back up, my dear, you're melting the ice. Well, I went back home and I told my daddy about this maiden fair and how I felt I would like to melt them icicles in her hair. Dad's trembling lips turned purple and his breath began to freeze. It was then he told me I could never rub noses with pretty little Ukshogni. He said, son, when you were born, where the Eskimo and the white men were having a lot of wild parties together. Well, this Eskimo named Pie-Eye. Well, that's right, son, this pie-eyed Eskimo stole my little boy and made an icicle out of him. So I stole you to get even. I was going to make a fudge sickle out of you. But I raised you like you were my very own, and I've loved you like the cold-blooded little Eskimo that you are. So you see, son, you can never rub noses with old Shogney. Well, no, it's not because she's your sister, but old Shogney's got the coldest nose in Alaska. And that's why I always say, Hook shook mogi, mush a doggy, oh, hook shook mogi, eh. Son, don't go near the Eskimos, please do what I say.
Really quite touching. That was a really deep. So it's like Running Bear. You know.
Oh, yeah.
It's right up there in the same level.
That was the second song I learned.
Running Bear.
Yeah, but not Running
You
Bear.
sang the parody. Running Bear through the wilderness. You know, dodging bullets from tree to tree. That one, yeah. Who did that one? Who
It's another Ben Colder.
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby Bear did it originally, didn't he? Or was it Bobby Bear?
No, the original was Johnny Preston,
Yes.
also done by Sonny James.
Yep, I remember that. I used to play that at the jukebox. Yeah.
I miss my jukebox.
So I think it was 3 selections for a dime back then. That's how long ago it was.
Well, you are ancient.
Well, dinosaurs and I saw the first eclipse that come through. I stood high on a brontosaurus, and we kind of looked over, and the sun came down, and then it went away, and we all sacrificed stuff to the demon gods that sheriff was having up there. Where was he out of? What was it? I guess T and
Georgia.
David Graham took off on us. Show's going that well. They
It's
just
going that
our
well,
old
they had to
friends
leave.
Took off. They didn't even say goodbye. Just got out of here. But
I did that last week.
yeah, Bill did it last week. I got some music news here. Why don't we take just a quick chance on that? I did this this day in history. I kind of get intrigued over music history type stuff. We all know that. That's why I can't wait for the stuff to come up in October and also in November. So we get a hands-on side of that. But 1956, Elvis was beginning working on his very first movie. 56. I wasn't even born yet.
Heartbreak Hotel.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
Love Me Tender.
Let Me Tender.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Love Me Tender.
Forgive me.
Um,
I was wrong.
The first TV special of the Beatles was on the BBC in 1962.
That's when I was born.
I was already born then.
I wasn't thought of.
No, you were born like 4,500 years later. We got another Beatles one here, real quick here. Let's see. Ringo Starr quit the Beatles in 1968 on this day. He quit the Beatles during the White Album because of all the bittering and bite back and stuff. But no one told anybody. He just quit the Beatles, left the Beatles for a couple of months. Back in USSR is on the White Album. That is not Ringo playing the drums.
I didn't know that.
That's Paul McCartney playing the drums. Actually playing the bass was John Lennon because Ringo was not in the band. They went on to continue the album, and Ringo came back afterwards, but USSR was already cut, done. That is not Ringo on that song. So just little stuff like that I find a tad bit interesting. Jimi Hendrix got his TV show put on, first appeared on the BBC back in 1967. Red's first #1 hit, Baby I Want You,
Oh, I love that song.
came out
I
in
Want You.
1970. 1970. Aretha Franklin covered that.
No, she didn't.
Conway Twitty did too.
Who did?
Conway.
Conway? I didn't know that, but I know Earth, Wind, and Fire and Dusty Springfield did. And Mark Cohn, the guy that did, what's that Memphis song? I'm Walking in Memphis.
Yeah.
Mark Cohen did that. So, but anyways, that's just a couple of things going on in music history. I haven't really been getting into a lot of the Beatles stuff lately. The other night, I was watching a lot of YouTube stuff and old video. Man, they just keep popping up some new stuff that they keep finding old stuff and digging it up there. There's a great one, 50 years. It's not the one where David Letterman hosted and had Paul and Ringo on and right live from the Ed Sullivan's Theater, but they had 50 years at the Ed Sullivan Theater, but they had Mick Jones from Foreigner, who was playing in a band at the time, who met the Beatles when they were just a nobody, and how they were just so much different.
Well, we recently learned where the Beatles got their, they dropped the silver part from.
Yes. They changed it from
Yeah, that
Beatles
was-
to Beatles.
That
Yeah.
was really interesting, actually. I was listening to that from Florida.
Yeah, that was a very interesting interview.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Explain a little bit about what show that was. That was one
If
of
you
the
want to go back
members of-
2 or 3 weeks, it was Joey Wells from
Yep.
Bill Haley's Comets.
Yep.
Was on the show, and he was talking about the fact that he was sitting and talking with John Lennon, talking about changing the Silver Beatles to the Beatles.
Yes. And then they changed it from the Bug Beatles to actually Beatles with a B-E-A.
Yeah.
TLES. So Joey might have had a big change in history there. I saw where they were talking to the 4 Beatles when they came to the United States, and they said, "Why'd you name your band the Beatles?" And John goes, "It's just a word. It could be like shoes." And Paul goes, "Yeah, we could have been called the Shoes. What do you think of that?" just the way they were. He goes, "It's just a word. It don't mean anything. It's just called Beatles." So again, that band changed the world.
Oh, yeah.
And again, there's not a true musician that's out there right now that has any kind of caliber or class and knowledge of music will all go back to how the Beatles have changed. Elvis opened the door. Elvis kind of is the one that kind of broke that bad boy mold, kind of broke the door open for popularity. When he did that, the Beatles ran through that thing fast and blew it up to parts unknown.
Well, even in the country music industry back in the 60s, there were so many people covering the Beatles songs even back then.
Well, I think the cool thing, they were talking to Paul McCartney, and they said one of his highlights of his music career was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club album came out on like a Thursday. I can't remember the day of the week, on Thursday. And they went to go see Jimi Hendrix play that weekend, and he was already covering Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Within a day or two, Hendrix was covering the Beatles. And Paul goes, oh my, that's pretty cool. When Hendrix is covering the Beatles, within like a day or two, he was so enthralled with it. But they were just so far ahead of their time. It was the right chemistry of the right four guys. And then, again, we deal with a lot of music education here, so I get a lot of kids going, well, you know, Metallica or Tool or Avenged Sevenfold are way better than the Beatles ever thought about being. I go, yeah, but those drummers aren't still inspired by Foo Fighters, you know, Nirvana. You have Dave Grohl, who was Nirvana's drummer and the front man and the head guy for the Foo Fighters. He will go back saying, it's Ringo. Ringo's got me started. You know, Bonham from Zeppelin was listening to jazz, and Ringo kind of got him into rock. These guys all revolve. Not that they're the next Ringo Starr. Some play circles technically around Ringo, but nobody's had that kind of inspiration that Ringo had.
Everybody gets inspired from somebody. I mean,
Right, and even they did.
right.
Buck Owens.
Yeah.
They were inspired by Buck Owens, and our neighbor right down the road, Little Richard, lives right down the road. Paul McCartney was enthralled by Little Richard, you know, and he lives right down the road from us down here. We see his car every now and then drive through our little town of Manchester.
I still like to catch him where we can try to talk him into doing a show.
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, he's you know, Elvis. I mean, when Elvis and Paul McCartney and John Lennon met at Graceland at 2 o'clock in the morning, Elvis and John and Paul were stunned. It's Elvis Presley at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when Elvis came up with a great line, said, if all you're going to do is stare at me, I'm going back to bed. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And Paul and John were just enthralled with Elvis. So they all have their idols. I think it was Elvis the one that kicked John in the rear, and John was like, you can do that? Because, you know, Elvis went out there and kind of broke the boundaries. But the Beatles went on to change fashion, change how you recorded music, how you wrote music, what you thought. It was like Paul McCartney said, he goes, I was the only one around that I knew that I could write songs. I'd write songs. So people come up to me, and I kind of had this little calling card. He goes, oh, I wrote a couple of songs. You want to hear them? And they're like, you wrote songs? And he goes, and I meet John Lennon, and I said, hey, I wrote a couple of songs. John goes, oh, cool, I got a couple of my own. He goes, you write songs too? Yeah, and that's, you go, like, I never knew anyone else that could write songs, and that's how they just kind of got their little songwriting career, and they've done it well.
I had never really thought about writing as a teenager for the longest time, and if it wasn't for, was it last week that Shannon was here? Or
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Shannon brought me a song that he had written, and I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
right.
So it became a competition. I had to write one better than his. I never did, but I had to write one better than his.
Well, and see, and Paul said that. Paul and John, they would write stuff, and sometimes they'd try to compete with each other, but Paul was talking about all of a sudden The Who would come out with something, or another band would come out with, the Stones would come out with something, going, well, we can write something better than that, you know, and they just go out there and kind of friendly competition. He goes, I want my song to be better than the song that's on the radio now. Why is that song on the radio now when I should have one on the radio?
I didn't even know you could co-write for the longest time. I had my first co-write after I was married,
Really?
before I finally sat down to the co-write.
I tried that writing thing once, and then I looked at what I wrote and went, yeah, it's not your cup of tea. It's a skill. I mean, it's a skill, and it's an art, and I think it's very cool and see the creative process. That's why I love this whole thing that we do with songwriters.
Well, I've evolved a lot. I go back and look at the early songs and then compare them to the newer ones and go, man, I sucked.
Yeah.
You got guys like,
Yeah, you did.
Thanks, Rebecca. I appreciate it.
and you got guys like David Graham, who was just here with us a few months ago. He's got 150 songs.
Yeah, 150 songs in television and movies. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it spits them out like it's candy, and I'm going, that's hard to do.
Him and I have been writing a little bit here lately. We wrote one with Miranda Miller,
Mhm.
and then a couple weeks ago we wrote one with Beth Locke. His last name
Lick.
Lake. Thank
Lake.
you, Lake. Yeah,
Lick.
yeah. Her and I Lick.
Okay.
Lick. Is that right?
L-E-C-K.
Did you
Yeah,
finish
Lack.
it?
Lack.
Did you finish it? You got
Yeah,
it?
it's finished.
You finished licking?
Yes.
All right, Dubbit, you're grounded. Just had to go there, didn't we?
You started it, Andy.
Andy, it's your fault.
Just blame Andy anyhow.
I've not said a word.
Except lick.
I am an angel sent from heaven above.
Wow. And then those little horns hold the hail up really nice.
Some has
too.
to hold it up.
Yep. So, in your countryside, favorite artist of all time?
Oh gosh.
I know it's hard to pick out one, but
Narrow it down to one.
narrow down the one that you can listen to all day long.
I'll give you three.
All right.
I can't do just one. I got to narrow it to three.
All right.
Garth Brooks, Don Williams. Okay, I got to do four. George Jones and Merle Haggard.
I knew George Jones and Merle Haggard to be in there. But yeah, all right. It was Don Williams, too. I can listen to all four of those guys, too. They're very talented. Go to the rock side.
The Beatles,
Okay.
followed by Kiss, and then Weird Al Yankovic.
Kiss and who?
Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, okay. Weird ruined a lot of songs for me because I hear the originals, I think of him now. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
of theirs, you know. Every time I hear Bad from Michael Jackson, I always think of the Weird Al Fat version, which did it really well, too.
Think I'm a clone now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the one that I lost on Jeopardy was my favorite one of all time. Andy, who's your favorite artist, country-wise? Favorite artist?
I'm assuming it was his cousin.
You know, if you want to get brownie points, at the next family reunion, you might want to go there.
George Strait, hands down, when it comes to country music. I've always.
If you had to take a family member out,
Yes.
it'd be George Strait, hands down.
Yes.
That's the disclaimer. You don't know Andy is cousins. He's related to the Dolly herself, Dolly Parton.
That's a couple big ones.
And,
Now, she's my favorite, so stop.
Dolly and George, that's what I was talking about. Dirty Mind.
and I've always liked Willie Nelson and also Waylon Jennings.
All right, go to the rock side. Who do you like rock side?
I'm a big time Eagles fan. I've always loved the Eagles, and if you really want to get into different style of rock, I like Aerosmith, and I like the Rolling Stones.
Okay. Miss Velvet, countryside. Who do you like country-wise?
Faith Hill, Martina McBride.
I thought it was me.
Excuse me, I choked. Yeah,
So Faith Hill and Martina McBride.
yeah.
How about the rock and roll side now?
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd. Okay.
Yes, there's a couple in there that still give me chill bumps. Heart.
Ooh, great band. Great band. Brian, are you hearing us okay down there? I'm going to ask for your vote, if you can hear me.
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
Rock and roll side, Brian, who do you like?
What are you talking about? What genre of rock? Older or modern or what?
It don't matter. If you could listen to a rock and roll artist or band all day long, who would you pick? Name a couple if you wanted to.
That I don't know.
You don't know? I thought for sure I know one of yours, Brian. I can almost tell you I know which one you, because you go crazy over these guys every single time they play or you talk about it. Brian's always been in the Little River Band.
Oh, okay, rock like classic. Oh yes, yeah.
I knew I'd spark it. Do you like anybody in the countryside, Brian?
You're asking difficult questions. If you,
I know. We want our listeners to
countryside.
hear about
I would say probably Kenny Rogers.
Okay.
That and George Jones.
Oh, George Jones. Okay. Countryside's always hard for me. Johnny Cash would probably be at the top for me
Excellent.
on the countryside. I got to see him luckily once. I was really young when I got to see him. But I did get to see him and remember him briefly because he was so young. I was like almost wasn't interested in it at the time, not knowing greatness was standing right there. So Johnny Cash would probably be my favorite in the country world. And of course, I already mentioned the Beatles. The Beatles is it for me. If it wasn't the Beatles, my next two are like almost neck to neck in second place would be the Eagles, which I think you mentioned the Eagles. And Skinner all the way. I'm a huge Leonard Skinner fan. I know as big country is up there in the Southern Rock, he's big in the country and big in the Southern Rock stuff too. So
I believe he's going to be here for part of the show, vinyl show on Sunday as well.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
He's going to go over and do a show for David Graham, a taping
Okay.
that afternoon. But he's going to come here because they believe he's going to spend the night at my place Saturday because we're doing a show at Mont Eagle. Him and I and Heather Stevenson will be doing the writers roundup there
Oh, at Mont Eagle.
at Mont Eagle.
Okay. And Brian, are we doing anything live at the Palace this weekend?
Once again, another difficult question. I had my
I try to make the
schedule
show
pulled up. I
entertaining.
think I think we might have something this weekend. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. So if you're not out and about, checking out Jason at Mont Eagle, Jason Big Country and Heather Stevenson, three great acts up there at Mont Eagle on I-24. Head up. Well, it depends on where you're coming from. If you're coming from Nashville, you go south on 24. Get up to Mont Eagle. You'll see Jim Oliver's restaurant. That's where you want to go to. Jim Oliver's. Great food. Great pickles, by the way. They have awesome pickles up there.
My daughter was just talking about those tonight.
Really? Yeah, man, they got great pickles up there. But check that out. Good music venue up there. But they do a lot. Marla Sitton and all those do a lot of stuff for music up there. So check that out. If you're not up there,
They have asked me to start booking a writer's round once a month.
a writer's ground.
Yeah. So I got to put together a round at the last Saturday of every month.
Oh, okay. Yeah, write me down. I'm good for it,
I appreciate that. I'll bring you right along.
My one song that ain't worth playing, but I'll be right there for you. Well, that'd be good. But check out Saturday night. If you're not anywhere else, go up there and check them out. And then if you're able to, if they're playing, if they're allowing us to air it on the air, if you can't get to the Palace Theater in Crossville, beautiful venue, by the way.
Yeah.
Go look at it live, check them out live. But if you can't get there, go on our Facebook page, or Brian will have us on there live from the Palace Theater. So always good entertaining people there.
And for anybody that's coming through McMinnville, Tennessee, stop in at the Park Theater. We're going to be having the Steel Drivers there
Okay.
a little bit later this year. And also want to point out that Bluegrass Underground is officially moving from Cumberland Caverns. They will be relocating in Grundy County at the foot of Mont Eagle Mountain there at a place called the Caverns as of next year. Of course, they're still going to have the same groups of artists that tier
Right.
that will be performing, and but also I wanted to go back to Jim Oliver's Smokehouse. I wanted to stress, if there's any other songwriters listening, and also through the National Songwriters Radio Network, Marla Sitton has put together what's called the Smoking Hit Songwriter Seminar, and that's a good opportunity for networking for anyone that wants to join in.
That's where Randy got his break at. Rockin'
Oh,
Randy.
yeah.
And that's going to be coming up a little bit later on. And it also lines up with another event that they have planned there, too, that where there's going to be live music on the mountain. So it's sort of a win-win situation. If someone wants to sign up for the seminar, she had sent me a message here just a while back that there was about 15 spots left. But the list of songwriters that are going to be there within the group are hit songwriters. They wrote songs for, Dierks Bentley, and I think let's see here, Keith Urban, and a couple other big artists. But it's something I think people definitely want to check out if they're wanting to go.
He was talking about the Park Theater's a show you and I may want to go over and check out, I believe, next month in September.
Which one's that?
The Wanna Beatles.
Oh, okay, the Wanna Beatles.
Yeah.
Why has all this happened when I'm back in Florida?
Hey,
You
you just have to move back quicker.
gotta get back quicker. Get yourself, come back up. See, it's to make you hurry back. See,
Yeah. Talking about incentive, right?
we're trying to get incentive, get you back here as fast as we can. We need you here. So, yeah, we'll have
Somebody's got to look better than the rest of us.
we
That don't take much.
I
got
thought
a lot
you
of
were
stuff
pretty.
going on out there, so make sure you check it out. And again, if we got anything live going on there, you can check our Facebook page out. Brian posts everything on there, and we're reposting stuff from other artists. Sugar Lime Blues Sunday Shout Out is we try to repost it on that page. Different bands coming out. Dark Waters has been reposted. Anything you see. Or that we see that's our artist related, that are friends of ours, we try to pop on there. So check them out. Then don't just check them out, go to it.
And I also want to stress, come down to Warren County for our fair this year. It's going to be really exciting.
This is
Tom,
going to be really exciting this year.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
it is.
very
A
exciting.
special band has been invited to perform during that period of time.
The Kentucky Headhunters.
Yes, they're going to be showcased there. It's going to be the main show. The Kentucky Headhunters will be performing, but also Down South Jukin's going to be there as well. So
It
you might
looks
want to
like
come
it.
check that band out. They've got a couple of good artists. You know, they're fairly decent.
It looks like the Down South Jukin Band may be there. If you don't know who Down South Jukin Band is, that's Jason Adams himself, the Hibbett Heartthrob. We got Big Country, Jerry J. Thomas. We got Ronnie Davis, formerly from Moccasin Creek. We got Richard Brown, who's with the band The Sound Dogs, and myself, who plays maracas, both acoustic and electric version. So I'll be playing.
Get the real charge out of that.
Yeah, I get the real charge out of it. I plug it in that 110 outlet, man. I just go crazy on the maracas. But it looks like we might be playing the Warren County Fair. So check out, if you've never seen Kentucky Headhunters, oh man, you have got, now they're getting up there. So you don't know how much longer the train's going to roll with these guys. Sometimes they just get tired and they just want to get done, like Rush did. They're just done. So you don't know. So if you can get a chance to see the Kentucky Headhunters, you will not be disappointed. Even if you don't know a song they do, those guys are high energy on stage, a lot of fun. A very underrated band. A lot of musicians love them because they're a musician band. They play great. They got high energy. If you get a chance to see the Headhunters, pack that place out. If you can check out the Down South Jukin Band with us, we're not exactly sure what night that's going to be, but we will be there. We're trying to get everything set up and finalized, and we'll give you the date and time. Come on out, check us out, scream and holler, make us feel like we're the Beatles.
And remember, the Warren County A&L Fair is the last remaining fair in the state where there is no admission fee. So if you come, you don't have to worry about paying that gate entrance to come in.
And I think that's great.
And so that that's a long
$400 a park, though, but other than that, it's fine.
it's a long running tradition. You still have that same atmosphere that you would find in the older fairs. Just the smell of cotton candy. The kettle corn.
That Midway stuff. That's
it's
all
just
cool.
it brings those good memories back when you're young. It also brings about the turn of the season with fall approaching. Especially here in Tennessee, the beautiful state, the mountains, the colors. It's just something about that time of season. But one other thing that I do have to say, it's also what I call the beginning of football.
Yes.
It's back. College football, UT football especially, and go Vols, go Big Orange, and and it's a good time of the year, especially for NFL football and for college.
Oh yeah, I like college football. I'm big into the NFL. So, and my dad's the same way. He likes college football if it's the right games. Crimson Tide and the Vols playing, or Notre Dame, or Ohio State, Michigan, something like that. Nebraska, the Longhorns. Those good games, UCLA, USC. We like to watch a lot of that. I like to watch the Mountaineers from Virginia, Penn State. So I like a lot of college football, and I'll get locked on a running back or a defensive player, and kind of follow them through their career. So I think it's cool. But NFL, man, I'm as bad on the NFL as I am on the Beatles. So we watched just about every preseason game you can watch.
And that's why you've been a Dallas Cowboys fan since you were young, right?
No. Now, here's the weird part about it. We grew up in Wisconsin, so Green Bay is actually on our when you see our birth certificate, it actually has the background of Lambeau Stadium out back there, and it's got like cheese heads and stuff in the corners. So you got to like the Packers, you got to love cheese. That's on your birth certificate. So that's on there. So no matter how bad Green Bay played, we supported them. And I was there the lean years and the good years.
He's always eating cheese, though.
I love my cheese, brother. Love my cheese. And but
Little Limburger, he's ready to go.
no, we can't do the
And as
Limburger.
long as it's not beans.
But the irony of it is where I lived at, we were, closer to Chicago than I was Green Bay. So we still love Green Bay, but I still had, I love the Bears. And when Walter Payton was with the Bears, that was my player. When Walter
Yes, the
or
fridge.
Payton played, I was like, if they played Green Bay, I wanted Walter to do really good, but I wanted the team to lose. It's weird. But now back in the the Tom Landry years of Dallas, again, we like Dallas. I didn't like him when Jerry Jones bought the team and had Jimmy Johnson, although they're a great team and great players. I just didn't care for that whole thing and never cared for him. Now, they got a great team, looks like, coming back, but...
My memories is Roger Staubach. That
Oh, the monster.
That's what I remember. And of
Randy
course
White.
the Pittsburgh Steelers with Terry Bradshaw.
Oh, yeah,
just the classic
Ken
rivalry. I mean,
Stabler from the Oakland Raiders.
yeah, and you had Too Tall Jones that was playing at that time
Oh, yeah.
too.
Mean
And
Green,
Mean
or
Green.
Mean Joe Green, and all those. Oh man, I mean, when you could go back and start naming the defensive players as household names, Richard Dent, Wilbur Marshall, all those guys, Dave Durson, Mike Singletary, all these guys from the classic teams. That was great football. Now times have changed, and I know you got bored here. Times have changed,
fascinated.
but I am just blown away by football. The helmet-to-helmet thing has got to come to a stop. I keep seeing that when people are getting injured with the concussions.
Well,
That's got to stop.
One of the biggest changes came with the NCAA whenever they actually changed the rule there as far as during kickoffs. They actually were able to actually move the ball up for about 10 yards up closer. I mean, so that way it shortened that time, and also it lessened the momentum of the athlete that was coming on special teams to, because it just eliminated that momentum, and just by 10 yards that made a huge difference. But
Right, but even just not special teams. I saw a play the other night in scrimmage where one guy came up, led with his head to hit the other guy, and then I look at it go, and it dropped the guy, and the guy wouldn't, dropped the ball, was out, and of course you get a penalty. And I look at it and go, you know what? Right there, you take the first one and you get rid of him out of football. You're fined. You don't get an NFL pension. You'll never play again. You can't play in any other sport in your entire life. You now got to go pump gas somewhere. So you went from $3.5 million to nothing. I bet you'll stop seeing head-to-head collisions like instantaneously. But I see that all the time. They keep talking about, we got to get these concussions out of the NFL. Take the next guy if it's intentional. And that's where you're going to draw the line. How do you know for sure it wasn't an accident? But when you see a deliberate, he led with the helmet,
leading with
he's
the
got
helmet
to go.
and lowering the shoulders.
He's got to go. I don't care if it's a star
Yeah.
player. He's got to go. That's just me. So Jason, why don't you hit us another tune as we're staring at the clock? He goes, enough of this NFL. I gotta be pretty playing guitar.
I bet you people
Please.
were like floating through and they say, oh, wait a minute, we just hit an NFL.
We do the
Yeah.
sports show.
Yeah.
Let's
Man, this is a radio. This is a sports network now.
yeah, WFC Jam Sports Radio all day, all night. Nothing but the NFL and the Beatles.
No, I forgot to tell you that, Chris. Sorry about that.
Yeah. See, dang you for not having an artist here tonight. See.
Well, this will be on the new album once we get everything put together. This is a song I wrote with Randy Fincham. This is called "Raising Hell and Breaking Hearts." Come here every night, have a couple of beers. You don't even know I'm here. Always with your friends, getting loud and having fun. You're the reason I'll stay and have another one. Holding that pool cue, every eye is right on you. I'm wishing I was the one you were holding on to. Angel with butterfly wings, a drunkard man's desire. Devil in tight blue jeans to set my soul on fire. The disco balls of moonlight and your eyes shine like the stars. You're what I get drunk on in this bar. As I watch you raising hell, breaking hearts. Out on that dance floor, as a band starts to play, I watch you move, all my cares fade away. Look at me and smile, wave me over with your hand. Looks like tonight I'll finally get my chance. When I've been waiting for all year, as you whispered in my ear, what do you say that we get out of here? Angel with butterfly wings, drunkard man's desire. Devil in tight blue jeans, you set my soul on fire. Disco balls of moonlight and your eyes shine like the stars. You're what I get drunk on in this bar. As I watch you raising hell, breaking hearts. Yeah, I watch you raising hell, breaking hearts.
Make sure I got a technical thing taken care of. Brian, could you hear him okay down there? I know Brian is jumping off the screen down there. Throwing the
Yeah,
mic.
I can hear. Why?
Okay. He was blowing us away here. He was cranking it. So, Jason, have you always sang that loud?
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes,
He's
yeah.
just a loud mouth.
I know. We had the Jason filter there one time where Brian bought a piece of equipment just to kind of compress you. And we call it the Jason filter. But I think he's got that now in his equipment down there. So, but yeah, you've always had no problem projecting volume.
No.
Again, now, are you the only singer in the family? I mean,
I've got cousins and uncles that
are
used
they
to
like
play.
that too? Are they?
No,
No?
no.
Just you. We're graced enough to have you.
Yeah.
That was cool. I remember the first time I heard you. I was, thrown back by, and this guy's got some lungs on him. He can actually blast right through that stuff.
There's a lot of venues that I used to play, well, even the Brew, that I wouldn't use an address system. You just sit back and play.
Yeah, see, I saw when I was a young man at an amphitheater, Don McLean came out and sang with no microphone. Just an acoustic guitar and just echoed through the whole place, kind of like you. Just kind of doesn't really need amplification in a small venue. So, and now there was a joke Mike Allen had about you where he was playing one venue, and over top of his band, he could hear you singing in the next venue next door.
Yeah.
Yeah, they heard Jason. He said either you didn't have a microphone, you didn't have a band, it was just you with your acoustic guitar or something. I can't remember what it was, but he said we could hear Jason over top of us in our venue.
Yeah. That was back doing the Nashville Traditions radio show, I believe.
Oh, was it?
So that's early point out. That's where I met Mike originally, was over there. And we did that for a little over a year, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I met Mike. I can't think of the name. The Walking Horse Saloon,
Yeah.
the Walking Horse Hotel. I'm sorry, not saloon.
War Trace.
In War Trace. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Cool
And,
place.
There was a band playing there. It was a really good band, house band, and they had a special guest who was one of the guitar players for Steppenwolf. Got up and played, and then they said, "Well, we want to get the singer up here." And this guy's been dancing with me, next to me all night, not with me, but dancing. I was dancing with some people, and he was
The
dancing
truth
with
comes
his
out.
wife.
You can't pick on me anymore.
Yeah, well, you know better than that. But he was dancing with his wife, and they wanted to get him up there. Talking about how good this guy is, getting him up there. And I'm like, going, this guy don't look like a singer. And Mike got up there and sang it. Oh my, what a great talent. So I got to end up performing with him a few months later down the
I
road.
almost had him here tonight.
Oh, really?
I called him. I said, I need another artist. He says, man, I got to go to Nashville tonight. He said, but keep me in mind for if something else happens.
Yeah, we need to get Mike on the show. We haven't seen Mike in a while. He kind of got sick there for a while. Now he's doing much better. So we got to get him.
He
I
did
saw
one
his wife
show with
earlier.
us. We passed the guitar back and forth and sang and talked, and that was early on.
Yeah, he's very talented. Again, when I hear, it's kind of like the Weird Al thing. When I hear the original, I think of Weird Al. Now, when I hear the original of like Buck Owens or Merle Haggard or Marty Robbins, I think of Mike.
Yeah.
I don't think of Marty. When he sings "Don't Worry," I think of Mike Allen. So hopefully he's doing well out there. I don't know if he's playing with his band out. Is he playing much out at all?
Not much. Once in a while, you see him out there playing.
If you ever get the chance to see Mike Allen and friends, go check them out. Good band. So, Jason, anything else coming up with you? Yeah, you got something going on?
Well, we got Big Country, and I have that show coming up this Saturday
Okay.
at Smokehouse.
All right. And Jim Oliver's up there off of I-24 down on Mount Eagle.
Correct. And next week's guest on our show, hopefully,
Is that the boys?
we will have the Buzz Band.
Yes.
The Buzz Band will be here, and a phone interview with Rose Perry out of Canada.
Out of Canada, eh?
Hey,
I won't do that. Now she's going to do Skyping on with us?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She'll do that the first hour with them, and then her. So
Okay, that's cool. Buzz Band, good friends of ours. They have their own unique sound and style. They kind of go back to that folk
it
era.
remind me a lot of America.
Right. With Neil Young singing.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it kind of resembles Neil Young in a way when he sings. But great band, so you want to check those guys out next week.
There's a little bit more to those fellas than people realize. So
Oh, yeah.
they're definitely going to want to tune in for this.
Oh, yeah, they're a good band. We've had them for a couple of fam jams. We've had them on the radio show a couple of times. They're on our radio station from just about day one.
And they've even put me on their television show
That's
twice.
right.
Yes, you were on the television. That day was weird because everybody we knew showed up that day.
Oh, yeah.
Sugarline
Blue was there. We was there. We had Northern Grits there, James Bell,
Sean
and
Connerton.
Sean Connerton for that first show.
Yep.
And then this last show I just did here a couple months ago.
Yeah, I didn't get to go to that one, but man, it was a pretty good show.
And we don't want to forget the passing of Jerry Lee Lewis. We've not
not
spoken about
Jerry
that.
Lewis.
Jerry Lewis, not Jerry Lee. Jerry Lee's still alive. This is Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis.
Yeah.
Lady!
Hoing, hoing. I think the cause of death they ruled today was he was just 300 years old. I think
Yeah.
is what it was. You know, he's been around forever and ever, but
Heart failure, I believe is what they finally said, yeah.
I think it was. So he's been around doing it for a long
91
time.
years old, I guess it was time.
Yeah, well, he's
No disrespect.
no. I mean, he's had a rough life, a long life.
Yeah.
He's done a lot for charity.
Never see that skit he did where he's playing rock and roll? Got his eyeballs crossed out there, was twirling that guitar around. It's actually hilarious. Little
No,
bit he did.
I seen him when he drum soloed with Buddy Rich,
Oh, wow.
which was hilarious. Of course, Buddy ate him alive, but it was pretty cool. But he had the muscular dystrophy telethon. I was part of that back in late 70s, early 80s. I was part of the local acts for muscular dystrophy, and Jerry would send it to the local station. We'd go back, and I was part of that. So it was pretty cool. He's been doing it for a lot of years. Done a lot of good for a lot of people. So
Definitely missed the Nutty Professor. He was
yeah, the original Nutty
He was
Professor,
original.
unlike the Bill Murray, not Bill Murray, but Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy character.
My only problem is every time I think of him, I have to listen to Bob and Tom. That's what I think about.
I see. I'm ruined with that too. Bob and Tom ruined Dean and Jerry with a lot of their stuff. But yeah, so Jerry Lewis. Yeah, we're sad that the fact. Now it was yesterday, I guess, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it until today. I thought it was today, but yesterday. So hate to hear that. That's another legend has passed on. So maybe him and Dean are fighting somewhere now again. So
Could be.
hey, little buddy. So
Probably up there with Abbott and Costello and
Oh, yeah.
yep, that's all great comedy. The Three Stooges and stuff. Again, I was watching old shows, and with Dad being almost 90, him and I said we watched a lot of Me TV, and it's got all the old TV shows on there and stuff that I saw when I was a kid that I appreciate more now than I did when a kid.
I agree. Same thing, yeah.
That's like going home. I'm stuck watching like Gunsmoke and Bonanza.
I can't get enough of Gunsmoke. I can't get it. I mean, especially the old stuff. Right now,
The Rifleman.
yeah, that's during the morning. It's Big Valley, Gunsmoke. I can't remember. And then Bonanza, and Rifleman. Yeah, something like that. It's 4 in a row, and they're like 2 hours or 2 episodes of Gunsmoke and 2 episodes of Bonanza. But yeah, James Arnaz, 6'7". So every time I see him with normal stars on the cast of Gunsmoke, he's just so much bigger than they are. But I watch him every day. He went to college in my hometown. James Arnaz did, long before I was there. But great stuff. So I appreciate the old classic stuff, and I guess I'm that way with music too. It was fun.
There's reasons for that.
Okay, tell me why.
Because you're old and classic.
Because I'm old and classic, yeah. I just think stuff was written for the times back then, whether it be the Honeymooners, and comedy.
Oh, I don't
Stuff
like
was written
them like that.
about the times.
To the moon, Alice.
Shut up.
Boom, zoom. We watch that every Sunday night. But stuff was written about times that everybody, even if it didn't actually happen to you, you could relate to it. Songs were written about it. Songs were written about peace and love. And if you weren't in Vietnam, you could still relate to the song. If you weren't, about, different things in the United States, political at the time, you had a lot of the race riots and stuff. Songs were written about that kind of stuff that if you didn't participate, you could still relate to it. Now, the stuff today, I just can't understand half the lyrics because you go, I would never be in that position, and I don't know what they're talking about because I don't know if they've ever been there.
Well, there's one new one here recently. Well, within the last couple of years that I would never sing, but I may have related to it once. It was Blake Shelton, chew tobacco, chew tobacco, chew tobacco, spit.
Yeah.
You're so wrong.
I don't. Great musicians, I don't get the lyrics sometimes. I'm going, really? Is that what we're singing about now? Really? She thinks my tractor is sexy. I mean, huge hits. I mean, I can't deny it. I mean, they went, but
Right?
I wrote something like that. I thought it was a joke, and I stopped my song. I should have been writing. I'd have had big hits already. You already hear my hooks. I already got 3 ladders
Got
in a
some
noose.
great ones, yeah.
Yeah, 3 ladders in a noose. Chipmunks in the rearview mirror. I mean, I got some hits that's just waiting to be. Hey, Eddie, you out there? They're freebies. Go ahead, take them, make a big song out of it. When you get platinum, I just want to cover it right here in my store. I just want a record up there on the wall. Give me a little bit of credit. I don't even have to make any money. Just give me the record. I've been to Jimmy Reiser's house. Didn't know who Jimmy Reiser was. He used to come in my shop all the time back in Indiana. And then one guy stood in there, and Jimmy Reiser walked in there. Jimmy Reiser just come in there, and he was buying stuff, and he walked in one day, and somebody goes, "Oh, it's Jimmy Reiser." And I'm like going, "Okay." Yeah, just like us, you know.
I've
They
got
said-
one. I've got one better than yours though.
They said, "Do you know who Jimmy Reiser is?" I'm like, "Oh, apparently not." And they said, "Well, that's like Mellencamp's best friend in the world." And I'm like, "Okay, really?" They said, "You know, he hosted Farm Aids with Willie Nelson and John Mellencamp and stuff." And we're like, "Did you really?" He goes, "Yeah, a couple of them." And they said he had like a number 4 hit in the nation at one time. And I'm like, "You did?" They go, "Have you ever been to his house?" Which was right across the street from my shop. He would walk over. I said, "No." He said, "I'll watch your store. Go over to his house one time. Jim, come on over." Platinum albums all over the wall.
Oh, my goodness.
All over the wall. Where he's been on all the Mellencamp songs and all the other artists that have played. And I'm like going, "You?" Yeah, I played mandolin on that one. I played this on that one. I played that on this one. You just don't know. But the songs he sang, the songs he wrote, were songs that you could kind of relate to. And he's just down-to-earth, nice guy. So, Andy, you said you got one better than that one.
Yeah, my big hit's coming. I shared it with Jason the other night.
Oh, you got a big hit song coming
Yeah,
out?
yeah. The title's Burnt Beans. Yeah.
Burnt Beans?
Burnt Beans, yes.
Uh-huh.
When I
Tell your hook.
a little bit of line here, and it says, when I kissed her, I told her she tasted like refried chicken, and she said I smelled like burnt beans. And it,
All right. All right.
so there you go. You've got it. That's it.
Yeah, it's better
What's
than
that corn song you had the idea for?
Oh yeah, she's shucking my corn.
Wow. That's almost as bad as, you know, when I kiss
Wait
you,
now.
I taste what other men had for lunch.
Okay.
Oh, God. Oh, no, no,
You
no.
can use that if you want.
That's terrible.
Hey, it's not even original either. It's just, I've heard that. Oh, man. We lost Andy. Andy's out of control. Chris, if you still got us on the air out there in New York, thank you. Thank you. We got 10 more minutes of this mayhem to go on. But yeah, if you're listening to any of us still on the radio tonight, we want to thank you. Make sure you jump on our Facebook page, like us, share us. Jump on Chris's page, heatfmradio.com. Listen to the website. Great stuff. They got a lot of good stuff out there. So, again, thank you, Chris, for allowing us to be part of your family. We're glad you're part of ours. So, Jason, why don't you bust another tune out real quick?
Okay.
What is it?
I don't know.
When I kiss you. We're going to go home and write that tonight.
That's mine now.
That's terrible. Let's see. Do you want something funny? Do you want something serious? Do you want what do you want?
What happened to the Piggly Wiggly one?
Oh, she
Oh, I
does.
can play. She does.
Okay.
And I can do the
I got my background singers.
He got his background singers.
This is a sad love song.
Oh, sad.
Sad
love
Yeah,
song.
it is. It's
I think this is Brian's new favorite.
yeah, it's really sad. It's heart wrenching. It'll reach out and grab you somewhere.
Yes, it will.
Well, hello. Has it already been 2 weeks since you said it's time away from me? Now here you are, standing at my door, wondering why your key don't work no more. I got great news from me, bad news for you. I don't have a heart to kick you out or tell you that we're through. But she does,
She does.
she does,
She does.
she does. dishes in the nude.
In the nude,
Yeah, she does.
she does,
She does.
she does.
She gets them cleaner than you.
You.
Hey, we lost Jason.
And then she'll blow dry them too. You know a thought? I'd miss you for a while. Then I saw her standing there in that produce aisle. A piggly, wiggly queen, holding the biggest melons I'd ever seen. I got over you the minute she got under me. Yeah, I got great news for me. Bad news for you. I don't have a heart to kick you out or tell you that we're through. But she does,
She does.
she does,
She does.
she does the dishes in the nude.
In the nude,
Yeah, she does,
She does.
she does.
She does.
She gets them cleaner than you. And then she'll blow dry me too.
Great job, Andy. Love it.
We had the Andy's Boys Choir in the background. I just wish this was on video. I wish we could-
this song here,
Capture
we get
faces.
we have people turn and they just applaud after we.
You know, that's the only song that I've ever been able to break out into the songwriters' venues, and everybody shuts up.
It's amazing. I mean, we have people stop, they'll turn, and then at the end they're laughing and they're clapping. You know,
And they're singing "She Does."
and they're singing "She Does," and it is based on a true story, semi-truth. Part of it is, at least.
You found a Piggly Wiggly Queen?
Oh, most definitely.
That's my favorite line in the whole song.
Mine too. I thought it was hilarious.
I think that's great.
And I worked at a Piggly Wiggly, you know, and
I never had.
Oh, so you were the Piggly Quiggly Queen?
yes, yeah. That's why when my wife heard it, the song, she looked over at me and said, "Really? I know that." I asked her, I said, "Listen to the song," and
Who wrote that line? Andy did.
That was Andy's line.
Andy's
It was
line.
Andy's line.
Huh? Wow.
Yeah.
How about the melons? Was that yours?
No, I don't remember who had the melon line. Was that yours too?
Well, it was sort
Remember,
of
your
the
wife
last
might be
group there.
listening.
It was T and Randy and all of us.
There was
So I
T and
know
Randy and Paul
Cicero.
Cicero.
And it just kind of played out perfectly, you know, the way. And David Graham was also part of that too.
Yeah.
He was there, you know. What do you expect when you put a fruit bowl together? You're going to find all kinds of nuts and everything in the middle. So you never know what's going to happen at the end. You know?
Yeah,
And that's
we had-
Who
basically.
you call a fruit?
Hey, I'm going to say
We had a
do
wide
have
variety of people perform at that thing.
we do have a good.
It was, and T's the one that started that.
Oh, really?
Yes,
He brought the title to the table.
She
He says-
does. Yes.
It was. I don't know how to tell you we're through, but she does. He had two other titles. We said that's what we got to write right there.
Okay. See, I think that's cool, the writing process. That's something I never got into. Again, I can arrange and I can hear that, and I can hear other stuff into it. I can hear all the music line and stuff. So I like doing that because I like to take it to the finished product. But when I hear someone come up with the guitar and the riffs and stuff, we're going, oh, that's pretty cool. I couldn't come up with that. I couldn't come up with the melody. I couldn't come up with the lines. But to hear that, I can go, well, I know where we go musically on this. I think it's pretty cool. This shows just where we all have our strengths and our weaknesses at. Some are born to be songwriters and work at it.
There was a lot of good songs written at that table, the songwriter venue that we were doing. With
Yeah, Andy had a real good one. that Randy, I mean, and Randy had a real good one that he wrote there that I'd like to see done. And Paul Cicero had a real good one I thought was a good one to hear.
My name is on most of those songs, which I like. But a lot of those are going to wind up on this album, actually. I'm looking at, we wrote one called 100 Years of Hell Raising.
Right, that's a good one. I think that's the one that Randy sang
Yeah.
for us. I liked it.
And then, of course, what we played tonight, the new ones will be on the album.
Okay.
The very first one we wrote there was that Wallet Size Memory. That was my idea. And then there's some other good ones there. I love the open mic song, and I understand that it was just played for one of Garth's writers over this last weekend.
Right.
Oh.
I heard
Wow,
that.
that was sweet because I just now found out.
Yeah,
That's great.
they played open mic, and there's one line in the song, maybe Garth won't hear it, or maybe Garth won't cut it. And right across the table was the guy that wrote the dance.
Right. You don't know. And that's why I tell people that are out there performing, you don't know who, if you're into the circle and you're doing the songwriter thing, you're doing the band thing, and you're doing the network thing like you're supposed to be doing, you don't know who's in that room listening to you. You don't know who you come in contact with. So be real, be true to what you are, and perform like it's your last time you're ever going to perform. You don't know who's listening.
He was part of the Smoky Mountain Songwriters Festival that particular writer was, and Paul was there with David Graham, and that's when he was singing the song, and the fellow was right there. He had no clue. You
don't know.
Even in the
I
audience.
think it was pretty cool. Randy's Facebook post where he posted that they were in the room that Rocky Top was written in.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool.
Celebrated 50. I think it's the 50th anniversary of the song, the song itself. But I don't want to fail to mention Bob. He's not been here, for several shows. Bob McCafferty.
Yeah.
And Bob,
we have to get the songwriter thing going again. What
We
we've written
definitely need to do that again.
Yep. Get Bob back out in there. And Bob always claimed that he wrote Athens.
Yes.
That's
I wrote this new song. I got to hear it. He sits down and plays it. Oh, I like that. Maybe someday I'll cut that for you.
Yeah. But Jason, we got time for one more before we have to sign off. Why don't you do whatever you want to do? You want to do a classic, or you want to do yours, or you want to do?
Okay, I can do that for you.
We got a request. We're having an audible. There was a couple of versions of this song. He's going to figure out which one he's going to do. Jason has a guitar in his hands. He's strumming. He nods yes. I think we have a go. Nessa, we have a launch.
This is a James Bell and Philip Holland song.
Okay.
It's on my first album. I call the good album the first album. The first two are just practice. This is called the Dog Bite Song. Oh, my fingers finally free of that wedding band. Back out on my own again as a bachelor man. Sometimes it gets lonely all by myself. And lately I've been thinking that I could use a little help. I was thinking that I might get me a pet. I might get a dog of some kind. I don't really care what breed it turns out to be, as long as that dog bites. Bites my ex-wife when she comes asking for money. Bites her mama too, just 'cause that'd be funny. It can pee on my tires all day like. All I really want is a dog that bites. I hope someday he'll bite that old postal man. As he walks up to my mailbox with a bill in hand. I'll even buy him a little doggy treat. Ain't a big old rawhide bone to sharpen up his teeth. Well, he can do his doggy do in my front yard. Go out chasing cats or chasing cars. If he don't fetch my morning paper, that'll be all right. Just as long as that dog bites. That crooked lawyer who gave her all my stuff bites that new boyfriend who thinks that he's so tough. He can't drink from the toilet all he likes. All I really want is a dog that bites. And if that dog is good, I'll get him a dog of his own, with a little house in the backyard where they can get it on. If they have a dozen puppies, that'll be all right. Just as long as they all bite. Like my ex-wife when she comes asking for money. Bites her mama too, just 'cause that'd be funny. It can pee on my tires all he likes. All I really want is a dog that bites. All I really want is a dog that bites.
Well, you got to hear some stuff that's off of Jason's last album. You can pick up that CD anywhere Jason is playing at. Come down to the Family Music School here in Manchester. I believe we have some that's in the back over here that they've got for you. We'd love to sell them to you.
Yes, we'd love to sell them to you.
Yes. And then hopefully the new one will go out. We heard some new stuff coming out to go on the new album. Hopefully that'll get out someday down the road.
My only issue with the new album is every time we sit down to write, I have to throw another song away.
That's a bad thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a bad thing. So,
There's so many I want to cut. I think it's going to be a 14-song album by the time we're done.
hey, do a double album. Why not? Double the expenses. Why not?
Why not?
Just gotta. Yeah, my fee will be just triple though.
That's the way it always goes.
Yeah, so I'll make like what?
I'm going to pay you the same thing
$3.50?
you pay me.
Exactly. Exactly. We're rolling into nothing. Yeah, exactly. But again, well, Jason, I'm glad you stepped up to the plate, and you since the artist couldn't be here tonight, we'll have to boo and hiss him. He's unfortunately stuck in Knoxville, and we'll say Tennessee this time instead of Kentucky. So hopefully we can get him on the air again next break we get. Make sure you tune in to the show next week. You got the Buzz Band. Be a great show. They always put on a good show for us. We appreciate you.
We got a lot of other great shows coming up and some more surprises. You never know what's going to jump into us, before the year's done, and of course next year as well.
Yeah, a lot of stuff's coming up. We got a lot of good things going on. We got things in the works. Brian, is anything going on with the Muscle Shoals area music stuff going on down there that we can get tied into? Are we locked into any of that stuff yet?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. I know the Shoals area music starts, usually doing their shows, and usually they want us to promote those live, and Brian remotes that out of there. I haven't heard anything from them yet, so hopefully we'll hear something from the Shoals area music. There's always great talent down that neck of the woods.
Don't forget to tune in Sunday for the vinyl show, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
And when you get done with the vinyl show, you jump right over to the Commodore Grill. If you can't be there in person, Brian will be there hosting the Debbie Champion Songwriter Night there out of the Holiday Inn, West End, Tennessee, over there in Nashville.
Yeah, don't be afraid to call in and make requests. Our last show, we had a few requests.
Yes.
And,
Most of it is get off the air, I think it was.
I think it was, yeah.
It was.
Well, we're going to have some fun. I've already pulled the albums. I moved my daughter in and pulled albums all the same weekend.
Oh, cool.
But we got Freddie Fender and Slim Whitman.
Oh, I
and
can't wait.
Donna
Yeah.
Fargo.
Oh, man. Just lining the hits up for me. Man.
Little
Maybe
Burl Ives.
Some Boxcar Willie.
Oh, yeah, we got Boxcar.
You really didn't do that, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did. You know he did. You know Jason's that way.
I found a rather funny 45 of Burl Ives that I was laughing so hard at. It's a Harlan Howard song, Evil Off My Mind.
Huh.
And I've never heard Burl Ives swear before.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of the song, he goes to say a bad word, and they bleep it out.
Oh, man.
I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, what was the song he used to do, the Christmas song that Burl Ives did?
Rudolph.
Rudolph, no.
No.
No, that was Gene Autry did Rudolph.
He was in the movie Rudolph as the snowman.
Snowman, yeah. So he did. Was he Frosty the Snowman? Did he do Frosty?
Yeah.
The singing, the voice of that, Burl Ives. When you don't hear them drop the bombs like that.
Yeah.
I watched a YouTube video the other night.
Holly Jolly Christmas.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. I saw a YouTube video with Paul McCartney inducting Ringo Starr into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Paul dropped the F-bomb. Of course, you know he does it, but I just never heard him do it before. Like I heard Joe Walsh do that on a talking spot one time, talking about one of his songs, and he dropped it, and it was just shocking to me at first. But it's on YouTube. He did do that. He got New Jersey-ish or something there. So, all right. Well, Jason, we appreciate you filling in the gap for us.
That was fun.
Hope we
was
didn't bore
fun.
everybody out of the death with our stories of football and everything else we got in there. So
That was so much fun.
we
Glad I was
appreciate
here
it.
for that.
Make sure you check with us next week. We're going to have the Buzz Band in here and a young lady out of Canada. I won't say a to her the whole time. So with that, Brian, thank you again for putting us on live, getting us out there.
No problem.
Man of few words out there. So we're going to try to get Brian up here maybe Sunday. Maybe he'll come up here for the radio show. It'd be kind of cool. So, Brian, hopefully we'll get to see if you ever make it up this way here again real soon. Thank you, Velvet, for sitting in with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And then Andy took off on a break here real quick. He's in the building, but he'll be back out in a minute. Again, Chris out there at heatfmradio.com. Based out of New York. His listeners are all over there with his radio station. We want to thank you guys. Make sure you like all our radio stations, both Chris's and ours. Again, thank you for sharing our music and our family and our friends with all yours. And again, with that, we'll talk to you next week. I am Mark DJ Doctor, trying to get that word out. Can you get my own title out, the DJ Doctor? We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.